insidery buzz here in Washington, the Vance versus Rubio story that, again, like I said, it's never ending. But over the past 48 hours, we have seen not one, but two stories about how President Trump has been engaging people privately who they like better for 2028. Apparently, there was a group of 25 donors recently. I think it was like the night. It was like a fundraiser the night that we first started bombing Iran. He asked them, who do they prefer? Overwhelmingly, the room said Rubio. Now, we should be fair to the vice president here. Those donors are not exactly his people. Like, he's more of like the MAGA base, the MAGA heart, as opposed to the wealthy donor class. But look, I mean, Ashley, Sean often says that like the president always asks people how people are doing. Like, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. But everyone has believed JD will be the guy in 2028. So should he be worried that the president is asking people if it should be somebody else entirely?
I think that we're just getting started. Like, we're going to start seeing more of this chatter post the midterm election in November. That's when, as the presidential starts gearing up, I think it is like lifetimes between now and the presidential election. And so for him to ask questions, I think that's a good thing for the party. I think that he values input. He does this with all of the things, all of the topics. And I wouldn't count Rubio out at this point either.
Wow. That's so fascinating to me because, like, I have always been, I mean, I still think it's going to, like, 95% chance it'll be JD, but I could have been the vice president, not JD. But like, it's just so fascinating to me. So you think it's really up in the air at this point, 2028, and who's going to be the nominee?
Well, I have thoughts who will be the nominee. However, I think that there will be campaigns. I think that there will be a lot of discussion moving forward and what's in the best interest of the America First, movement overall.
Dan, let's have a little fun with this. Thoughts on these stories?
Yeah, my
percolating now. I mean, this is all theory, we should say, but like,
Of course, my first thought is why did this appear in the Wall Street Journal the way it did, with some of the specificity about certain things that Trump has been said, and my first thought was all these stories about JD in the last week keep having this little JD did not think this was a great idea, but if they're gonna go in, go big, go right, etc. I don't wonder if Trump is like, hey, look, dude, you need to be out fighting for me. Always, 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 always. That is what Sean is always talking about, is like the most important thing to Trump, period. He'll wave a lot of ills off if you are 100% fighting. And I just wonder, as Iran's hitting the rocks a little bit and it's getting turbulent, if this is a little bit of a passive aggressive shot at JD, like, dude, you better get out there full throttle right now defending this, because you're not. Right. In interviews more, he talks about the economy more. I just wonder if this is the White House.
Yeah, I mean, but that's
a little shot across the bow.
I mean, to be fair to him, I mean, like, White House insiders want the president to be talking more about the economy too, and the fact that Vance is more on message than maybe the president. Maybe that's because that's what he's supposed to be doing. Well, he was asked about, the president was asked about this yesterday. He was asked about Vance, and he said that Vance was, quote, less enthusiastic about attacking Iran, though he was still quite enthusiastic. Again, the president
says the quiet part out loud. It's the beauty of Trump. He doesn't hide.
The other thing about this is that when the president is upset with somebody, like, you can kind of get that sense. I didn't get that sense from this. Like, he knows where Vance is on a lot of this stuff.
But Rachel, the point is he's making Vance sweat a little bit. All these stories is just, hey, I don't know what I want to do. And so if you're JD's people, your first thought is, how do we get this to stop?
Ashley, how should Vance sort of navigate this? Because like reporters, like, super obsessed with the story, know that he is not he's been sort of this anti-interventionalist for a long time, skeptic of military engagement. How should he how should he change something? Do you think has the pitch perfect tone right now, or like what do you think?
Well, I think MAGA does want to talk about the economy. I think the base wants to talk about the economy. The base wants to talk about how are the president's policies helping me today, And so that's what JD Vance did yesterday. So while I think, the chatty class is saying, oh, well, he's not doubling down on, the foreign policy, his job as vice president is to also go out into the country and talk about the president's policies and how they're impacting the American people, being the economy and affordability and, are Americans better today than they were, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, et cetera? And that's what he's doing. So he's doing what he should be doing. He's doing the right thing. The other thing is, I do think that there is an infatuation with trying to divide from the media, from trying to divide Trump's cabinet. Like,
not just the media, though, to be fair. I hear Republicans talk about this all the time. But continue. Yes, I agree with you.
Sure. And Twitter class and all of that. But trying to divide the cabinet. And it's a very unified cabinet. And if you look at the turnover in the first Trump administration, there's a lot of lessons learned. And he's done an incredible job. Susie Wiles has done an incredible job of keeping the team together and really mission focused.
Yeah. I mean,
I think, Rachel, I think, Ashley, you make a great point, which is the media loves a horse race and they hate a coronation. Go back to George W. Bush when they started building up John McCain because they didn't want this steamroller going down, or Hillary Clinton. Like, they look for stories of division. They look for stories of the underdog, somebody who could come knock off, the big 800-pound gorilla. And that's another challenge JD's going to have to manage.
Yeah, it's totally true. And, nobody loves a palace intrigue story more than me. Like, I love them. But I have not written about tensions between these two because, there just aren't any. I mean, I have talked to people over and over again about this. Like, of course we were sniffing this out a year ago. We were sniffing this out a year ago. And but everybody
Rachel,
says that, and I know they have I know there's a natural tension between what is happening right now, but they're actually friends, right? And generally speaking, when you talk to people who are very close to the inner circle or, top officials, the belief is that it's going to be Vance and then Rubio. They'll run on a joint ticket. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Dan?
But here's one thing, though, that you can't use a year ago as a reference point. We've always said that at some point, look, if Donald Trump is really popular, JD Vance can start measuring the drapes today because it'll basically be his third term or, depending on fourth for those who want to view it that way. What we've always said is that if Trump is not popular, JD Vance is going to have to look for some way to say, I will not be the third term. I will be my own person. I will be JD Vance.
Yeah.
And so that tension has always been under the surface because we all know the moment you're not 100% on Team Trump, Trump will flip on you. And so for Vance, I keep saying somebody keeps leaking in all these stories that Vance has said he did not love this. And I can't fathom it sits well with Trump.